Good evening, everybody. So it's been quite a while. So much stuff has happened. And they actually notified me that Google Plus is getting ready to go away. So, a beautiful disaster may also be going away, and you're gonna have to pardon me. My hair is, it's, just not cooperating with me today. But anyway, since the last time you guys talked to me, you guys knew we were moving to Seattle. Because Shannon and I did the twin video, the twin question video. So yeah, we are here. Mom and I got here in November, middle of November, actually. Yeah. We moved into an apartment in Everett. I was working for United Healthcare there for the first little bit, but then I got a new job and started in December. And then, yeah, I got a way better offer for another job, and I start day after tomorrow for the city of Seattle. So I'm not going to go into too much about what my job is or anything. I've never really gone into it before on here. No real interest, just in case anybody plans on like going back and saying something, and wow, my hair just... Anyway, so a lot of things have happened, a lot of things have changed. So yeah, the house sale went pretty well. We had a couple of hiccups, but nothing too major. We got here, we got settled in. We're kind of still getting in the groove. It's really hard for me getting back into what I'm doing. I will say this, the new job I'm getting is back to being supervisory, making more money than I've ever made in my life. So that's always a plus, and will definitely be helpful. So the plan right now, we are in an apartment. As you can tell, I'm a little bit quieter than I probably would be otherwise. But then we are talking about moving into and buying a house later this year, if at all humanly possible. So, yeah, it's become a permanent thing. We are back on the West Coast, and it's, I haven't really had a chance yet to stop and smell the roses when it comes to being back here. I don't think so. But I'm getting them every now and again. Like I'm noticing I'm looking up and just being like, oh God, I'm back. The main thing that's been kind of, and I didn't talk about it a whole lot, I don't think, on the other video. One of the things that was becoming a real bad problem, that I haven't really had a chance to acknowledge, and it's not something that I have historically acknowledged either, is that, I was having massive bad anxiety over the summer. That's usually not something that happens with me. I would have it every now and again, just situational stuff, but I not quite to that level. When I was under extreme stress after Alex died, that was different. I couldn't actually feel how much stress I was under at the time, because I was also grieving and trying to work and doing all this stuff. And when you're that super busy, it can be really hard to stop and focus on how you're actually feeling. Now I don't have that. I don't have that level of stress. So immediately... a different kind of stress, I should say. Immediately, it was like, what the hell is happening to me? I never experienced that, that heart pounding and feeling like everything was expanding in my chest, and the instantaneous wanting to bawl my eyes out, and just break down. And I'm not like that. I've never been like that. And thankfully, I was able to kind of push through it and talk with people who, my friends and my family who experience anxiety and get kind of their ideas on how they handle theirs. And I've been able to assimilate a lot of that together into a kind of treatment plan that works for me. And that's been really helpful. So what precipitated the whole thing, though? So on top of the anxiety, and I'm stubborn. We all know this. I'm extremely stubborn. Some of you probably, I don't think I've ever referenced this on this channel before. I have really bad nightmares, and have since I was about 4 or 5 years old, according to my mom. I had night terrors. I'd wake up throwing things around my room, and I had a reoccurring nightmare about being kidnapped and murdered from the time I was about 13 until I was about 19 or 20 or so. Every single night, I'd have the same reoccurring dream. And it went away for a really long time. I think as I started to feel safer and get more secure, my brain sort of cooled it for a while. But then one of the things I knew from the get-go, I knew because of my history, I kind of already figured I had something called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It's not something you're going to find in the DSM. It's actually just post-traumatic stress chronic type, I think, or something like that. For the time being, but there is a lot of research going into it now. And essentially what it is that post-traumatic stress is you know, PTSD is from a one-time traumatic event, right? Whereas chronic is multiple traumas over the course of a lifetime, where, you know, you're kind of forced to deal with that kind of reoccurring trauma all the time. So, you know, knowing that I had that I had the negative self-image, and I've got the flashbacks and the nightmares and the triggers that come out of nowhere when I don't know what's going on, and all those kinds of things. The only one I don't really have, like, mistrust is on there and hypervigilance is on there. I have some hypervigilance, but less than I used to. And mistrust, I think I actually kind of have the opposite. I tend to trust a little bit too much, I think, sometimes. But, because I refuse to see the world as being a negative, scary place. And because of that, I think that's always kind of a constant fight back and forth in my brain. That the things I've been through tell me I need to be more careful, but then I know that not everybody's out to get you. So I kind of flip back and forth between the two. But in knowing that, even though I knew that, for a really long time I was very stable with it. Like, I didn't have the nightmares, I wasn't having flashbacks, I wasn't having any of, like, I'd have triggers every now and again, but nothing really major. And then what seemed to set it off was that everything kind of happened right around the same time as when Alex got sick and when he passed away. So we found out at the beginning of August that my job was going to be going bye-bye. Not just my job, but the jobs of the entirety of my staff. And that I was going to either get laid off or I was going to have to accept another position and move back out here to Seattle, which meant selling my house and getting everything situated to do that. And then getting all the stuff, you know. And it's all just logistics and coordinating, which I'm really good at. And we did really, really well with the move, but it's a lot all at once. So we found out officially that my job and everything was going, I think, the 18th or the 19th of August, which, of course, as you well probably know, was the day that Alex died. And I think it just kind of flooded me back. And then I was actually out here in Seattle looking at housing and kind of just hanging out and trying to chill in September. And I realized while I was going around that one of the days that I was just kind of hanging out by myself and getting coffee and just reacclimating to being here was the day that I left. It was 2 years to the day that I had gotten in the car with Shannon and had driven off into the sunset into Ohio. And it was very hard for me. And I was downplaying it to everybody. And I think that the cool thing about the people who care about me a lot in my life, and I can tell that they do, is that everybody knew I was full of shit, but didn't really call me on it. Like, everybody kind of called me on it in waves. Where it was like, no, do you think maybe this could be it? And well, why don't we talk about this? And why don't we, let's explore this? And instead of being like, hey, have you seen what day it is? But anyway, it triggered this massive attack back into these symptoms that I've historically been pretty able to control. So it was the anxiety and the stress and just everything kind of hitting all at once. So I started having these really bad panic attacks, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me what was going on. Then, that's been going on for the last couple of months, by the way. Back and forth. It actually calmed down quite a bit since I started the new job and we got the house all settled and everything was all good. But every now and again, it'll rear its ugly head, I guess is the best way of putting it. So I know, when was that? I don't know, like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, something like that. Shortly after I started the new job, I started to notice that I was getting really bad nightmares. Like, really bad. I mean, I could run you through some of the worst ones, but they are legitimately bad. And the thing is that they're always based on things that have happened, but they're exaggerated. So it's like, the worst one, I think, that kept reoccurring was, there was two of them, but the main one was I was, like, walking up behind myself in the hospital at UW, and I could tell I was walking at my back. Like, I could see that I was walking at myself. And I was just standing there, and I was in the hospital room, and Alex was, of course, laid out on the bed and everything with the tube on his throat and everything, and And I stepped past myself and I realized, you know, I'm just kind of staring and I'm like, why am I here? I mean, you know, I'm looking at myself and going, Sarah, this is, you know, you got to wake up. This is kind of like almost a lucid dream almost. And then just as I got to that point, Alex would wake up and his eyes would shoot open and he yanked his arm because he was tied down to the bed at one point because he kept trying to get combative. So they restrained him. So he like ripped his arms up with the restraints off and then tried to grab the tube out of his throat. And as he was like getting out of bed and walking at me incredibly angrily, I might add, he was still trying to pull the tube out of his throat and was choking on it. And then his eyes were that bright, that white that eyes do when somebody has passed away because you lose the pigmentation. And he was quite obviously pissed off at me for something. And he could never discern what it was, but as many of you probably don't know this, Alex spent the vast majority of our relationship pissed at me for one reason or another. I was just like slowly crawling back into the wall and trying to get myself to either wake up or move away. And I couldn't, and it would get to the point where he'd be like right up in my face, and then that would be it. And I'd wake up. And the fucked up thing is that I know if Alex were alive, nothing like that ever would have happened. Like, Alex wasn't, I mean, he was confrontational for sure, but if something was pissing him off, he wouldn't be trying to scare me about it. So I knew my brain was exaggerating it, but at the same time, I could, as that's happening, I can hear, like, the other me, the person I walked up behind, being like, this is your fault. This is your fault. This is your fault. And it plays on all of those really strong fears that you have, even though I know I had nothing to do with what happened to him. Like, when I wake up and I have to console myself and go, no, he died, and it had nothing to do with me. I'm still kind of processing that anger about that, not for me, but what I have towards him. Anyway, so that was one of them. And then, of course, miscarrying and giving birth and all of that stuff I have not dealt with, and I know for a fact that one I haven't. There is something violently traumatic about giving birth to a child that has died. I'm assuming giving birth at any time is extremely traumatic. But, you know, not knowing what's happening to you, not knowing, I didn't even know I was pregnant. So some of those nightmares also surrounded that, where I would be in the scenario where I was on the floor in the bathroom having her, and I could see myself in the mirror going, well, you know, you'd be a terrible mom. That's why this is happening. And there's kind of like this back and forth play on it. Where it's like my deepest, darkest fears would get realized and actualized. And it's been that way. So I finally broke down and I talked to everybody, and I have these really amazing family and friends who like talk to me and try to get me to focus and see what's going on and really try to, get past it. And that was amazingly helpful. You know, people that I care about a lot, who care about me a lot enough to be like, okay, well, you know, okay, we're not going to really try to address everything that's going on, but let's just try to get you to get some sleep. So during that time, though, I decided finally to see a counselor, because I like literally had 4 hours of sleep, and I think like a 4-day time period. So I went and I saw a counselor. Very proud of myself for that. It was only for like a 6-time thing for work. It was like one of those EAP things. But it was really helpful. She did give me the official diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder with the chronic type, so that I could start like actively working on that. I already knew it, and I had told other people that, and I was very open and honest about it, but I never had like an official diagnosis, and now I have one. So I think now being able to kind of attach okay, this is what this is, to that, being like, okay, the anxiety, I understand that, that's part of that. The negative self-image, that's part of that. The survivor's guilt, the constantly self-doubting, all of that kind of stuff. I don't trust myself, I guess, is the best. When it comes to the mistrust, it's got nothing to do with me not trusting other people, but I don't trust myself very much. That's part of that. All of that kind of rolls up into it. And then for me, for the last couple of weeks, I've been able to sit back and go, huh, okay, and let it go. Not necessarily, because it's part of who I am, and I do have to actually work on it and actively push past it, but Now that I can go, okay, that's what that is. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, that's what that is. And then more importantly, I think, okay, that's wrong. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, that's wrong. And attaching the actual facts to things. I'm not having issues with the nightmares anymore. I'm actually sleeping. The anxiety is still popping up every now and again, but it's not as bad. So I am looking forward to getting back to, and I'm noticing that my positive attitude is back a lot. My optimism is back, which there for a little while it was gone. My ability to get excited about the fact that I am here and that I'm somewhere that makes me happy, that's back. Being able to talk to people in a way that is not super annoying and is not, I know I probably could not have been the easiest person to be around this last summer and this fall. I mean, like, I know for a fact that there are people in my life who I wanted to move closer toward for one reason or another, that rather than doing that, I yanked so hard it wasn't even funny. And I'm still fighting against that. I know that I did it, and I know that I'm still trying to fight not to. But I acknowledge wholeheartedly that there for that whole time span, I could not have been an easy person to be around. Because I flipped into a super negative, very self-doubting version of myself that I normally don't get a lot, or don't let out a lot. So, yeah, we're starting the new job. I think we're turning over a new leaf at this point. And not just because of the job either, but because I'm actually engaging in things that I enjoy again, and I'm singing again, and I'm wanting to kind of connect back with the things that make me happy and don't stress me out. And I've given myself the resolution to, one, stop apologizing as much, and stop especially apologizing for my existence, because whatever. And I'm still fighting that. And again, thankfully I have people that call me on it, but it's like, you know, hey, stop it. So I'm fighting that. That's kind of part of my treatment plan at this point. Finding things that I like about myself, which oddly isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Although some of it is, but initially it is, and now it's not so much. And letting go of the things that aren't true that I have allowed myself to believe for so long because one person or another told me they were. And so far that's working. You know, it's, I'm getting back to where I want to be now. I'm going to be starting school again as soon as I'm able. It's going to take about a year before I'm a resident of Washington. Ugh. So like next fall, I think we'll be good to go, or next winter, whenever it's going to be. But yeah, I mean, I think just kind of, I'm getting myself back now. You know, a slightly more tired, slightly more beaten up version of myself, but it's like that poem. It's like my head is bloody but unbowed. And I'm at that point. I mean, I definitely let myself knock myself down too many pegs. And I'm getting them back now. So, welcome back to the channel. Well, we're out here in Everett and Seattle, and I will update more as stuff goes on, and I'll show you guys my office and all that if I'm able. But the last part of this message is directed directly at my friends and my family, people who I love dearly, people who I care about dearly. It took a lot, and I know it took a lot for quite a few of you to watch me go through what I was going through, and to help yank me back out of the darkest parts of that. And thankfully we didn't go too dark, but the most negative parts of it, I don't think I would have been able to get through without people there to help me do it. And I know that was really hard and time consuming, and oftentimes probably really super annoying and difficult to watch, but you guys stuck through it, and we made it out, and I think we're okay now. I think I'm okay now. And when I'm not, I don't have as much of a problem reaching out and asking for help. So, I just want you guys all to know that I love you and that I care, and that, you know, if ever I can give back and do something to repay those kindnesses, all you gotta do is let me know. So, yeah. Onward to 2019 and onward to whatever the hell comes next, guys. Bye.